not that we can't afford it, I'm sure everybody can afford taxes. But, well, but when you're retired, you maybe afford it until they foreclose on your house. And somebody takes it. So, right now, I'm sure I can afford as much as what is willing, but why 10 years? Why can't we do 3? That was my question. Because I guarantee I'm gonna back it, because I'm here for the long run. So that was my big question, sorry.
Answer that question. I can answer.
I'll answer it. Got nothing. I think I got a demo. There it is.
It's a lot.
And by the way, I'm not a farmer. So,
And Brian, I appreciate it. I've known Brian for a long time. He used to be a soccer coach here. But the reason for the length, we want long-term stability. I don't want to leave anybody else my mess. I want a long-term solution that solves our problem as far out as we could possibly project. One reason that we hired Mr. Overly, his formulas, and his ways of making the assessments on the projections, he has so many more factors that he puts into it, like birth rates and things like that. Jen only deals with the dollars that come and get put in the bank account. That's what she has to deal with. She can't deal with anything else. If somebody says we're gonna get $400,000, until it's in the bank, it's not on the statement. And I appreciate that. I'm the same way. I work for a living. I didn't say anybody didn't work for a living.
Yeah, we all do.
We all pay taxes. I'm gonna tell you what, I've owned my own business for 30 years. For 30 years. From 2008 until last year, I brought home no dollars. I've earned my life savings keeping my business open. Now, I had a nice year last year. I deserve it. I understand that. We've cut our staff. Everybody gets hit hard. We've cut our staff. We've let people retire, and we never filled their position. We lost a superintendent. We brought in another superintendent.
People, put his name on the paper so he can talk.
I apologize, Brian. This is
No,
Brian's
say it.
fault. Well, he needs to come up and sign the paper if he wants to take up on it.
But-
Brian, I apologize, but the reason was for long-term stability for the district. I don't want to leave my problem in 3 years to somebody else.
Like was it Miss Johnson that was saying, the country's in a bad place, so we gotta figure out how to get it better, and that was my concern, is 10 years, think about that's a long time, so let's put a ballot in place that maybe shorter, and then 5 years from now, maybe do it again. I mean, that's all I can ask, because hopefully we all vote the right president in, whoever that's gonna be, and maybe he'll make a difference, but I doubt it. But all we can do is try.
It's a
So,
state.
Thanks.
Craig.
Next up is Darlene Crawford.
How to sign your sheet.
Her question was when was the last tax levy that was put on? He said it was 1979. For an operating levy.
Not me.
My name is Darlene J. Crawford. I live in Wilmington, 1572 Ronback Avenue. I pay Wilmington City School taxes. My children, the first 2, went to Wilmington City Schools. They got a fine education, they graduated. My second daughter actually graduated 2 years early. My third daughter was also on the fast track. She, after hearing how wonderful Fayetteville-Perry me encouraging her, because Wilmington's bigger. They have a huge band program. They have a bigger art program. But my daughter chose Fayetteville-Perry High School. She chose my coworkers, because I do teach here. I am the physics and the chemistry, as well as the freshman physical science teacher. And for those of you who came to the open house, I hope your children enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you got to see how much I enjoy working with and for your children. My daughter, sophomore, is here. She chose here. Here's the other thing. I have another child. He's 8th grade. He's huge into drama. He's an 8th grader and was asked from Wilmington to participate in the high school drama play. They have The Little Mermaid. They pull in lots of people to come see this. He has chosen to come here to Fayetteville-Perry schools here. Not because I'm his mom. What kid wants his mom to be his teacher? Okay, mine doesn't, but I'm the only physical science teacher. I will be his teacher. But he has chosen to come here. I am grateful that they are coming here, because for the first time in 2 years, because I've only been teaching for 2 years, I get to see my kid. Because I believe in our future. I drive for half an hour to be here early, before the recommended time, because I try to meet with as many kids and students and wonderful children that I can before school. I also stay after school for those who want tutoring. I do it because I want your children to be successful. I know they can be. And by George, I want the next famous scientist to be from here. And I don't care how old they are, but I want them from here. I have a couple of questions, and I see I have about 22 seconds. My first question is, the money that, this pamphlet that was floating around, I know that I'm only a third-year teacher, and I apologize, this is where I get a little nervous, because I don't like this part of it, but $70,000 is what I saw on the document for an incoming teacher. I will never see that kind of money as a teacher, but let me tell you this, as a chemist, if I really wanted to fill my pockets with money, I could. I have the degree, I could do it, but I love your kids, and I love this community, and my husband and I are seriously thinking and rethinking about whether or not we want to actually move here, because we'd rather pay our school taxes where our children are coming. And we've been thinking about it really hard and praying hard and talking to people about moving here. As a school, we love the school. Community, thank you.
I wanna, please let me answer Mrs. Crawford's question. You, the flyer, what were you speaking about? An incoming teacher at 70,000?
There was a flyer that apparently was passed around, and I got a picture of it because my students were talking about it.
Can you share it with me? I'd be happy to answer that.
That was one that Ralph referenced.
Is that the one? Is that the one on the
Yeah,
list?
this is the one, right here.
No, that's different. That was one individual.
That was one individual, and I really, we should be discussing individuals and their salaries, but I can tell you that this particular individual that's been referenced to is holding a dual position in an administrative position. not gonna name person by name is what I'm trying to say.
You can look it up on public records.
I'm still not going to call anyone by their name in this meeting in open session, sir. Thank you.
And we did, I'll reiterate what was read at the beginning. When you sign in and give specific reason for addressing the board, please note no individual student or staff should be discussed, otherwise we would need to go to executive session. Furthermore, specific names or personally identifiable information should not be discussed in open session. So those kind of things at a regular board meeting, we could go to executive session and discuss. But right now, we're trying to keep an open forum and have discussions so that the information can be shared. The next person up is Mr. Gary Barber.
Mr. Brady, he's coming up, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
She's talking about, he teaches here and lives in Wilmington. Does she pay taxes here for the kids going to school? It needs to be to turn around and say, I'm getting something free.
Here's the answer to your question.
Many of our teachers here are actually living in Brown County and paying school district.
Well, to answer that, we have our employee ratio. Okay, Ms. Smith, let's stay on track. He asked the question. The question was, how many live here? We have 50% of our employees reside that teach here or work here, which is a pretty high number for a district. And the people like Ms. Crawford who bring their children here, remember, she's not paying our taxes, and it's not by choice. I'm sure she could forward the taxes here. She would do that, but she can't do that. But, well, not everyone can move down here, but can I finish your answer? But when she brings her children here, instead of the 3,200 if she were here, she's bringing in, and we don't want to put I sound terrible putting a dollar figure to a child. I don't like doing it. But if you're talking revenue, there's $5,900 per child. The taxpayers' revenue is bringing $3,200. She's not paying the same tax percentage you are, but she is bringing her children. Now, to move on to Mr. Crawford.
Thank you. Not very often we get this many teachers in
Mr.
one
Barber.
spot.
Name and address, son.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary Barber, 2652 State Line 50, Fayetteville, Ohio. So I just wanted to thank all the teachers, that's here for your service, and the taxpayers, cause that's what it takes to work. It's like a marriage. My thing is, I'm in agreement with, the teacher that was up here, Ms. Crawford. I wanna put out that 1% of students, and, we're asking the community for more taxes. I'm asking the teachers that the 33rd kid in your class, don't just push them to get by, because of the quota or to try to get money, and leave the first through the third kid, well, okay, they're good enough and they're passing. Push them too, and that's how you get that scientist. And, I'm not downgrading or nothing here at all, I'm just saying for what I would like to see. The reason I feel that we don't get any money, and I don't come to the school board meetings, but is because we don't have the business. But we also don't have Section 8 housing and, a bunch of that stuff around here, and I think that when you go home at night, that feels real good that your kids are going to school with maybe the Harvard of Brown County. So, as funny as it sounds, I think that's a plus to us,
How much does that work for you? Exactly.
So I wanna look forward to, how we can put out that 1%, is what I call, or 2%. Every kid's not meant to do that, but I feel like that the people in positions, of authority, your goal shouldn't be, to just try to turn it over better, but it should be to put out the people that give back to the community. And so we could, and I'm not degrading anyone on our school board at all, but I want us to be able to, in the future, say, you know what, Fayetteville's got someone specializing in education, they got someone specializing in law, they got someone that's good with the community, they have, all the important ingredients.
stuff, as far as what we voted on for income tax or what your place is worth. But I personally would have liked to seen it as an income tax, so it didn't affect the people that were on a fixed salary or, people that can't afford it. So that's all I have to say.
Next person.
Next person on the list, Jim Holden.
Hi, I'm Jim Holden. My address is 18799 US Highway 68 in Fayetteville. I just wanted to tell you all, I don't know if you know this, my personal beef is that the funding system is bad, okay? It unfairly taxes property owners. We know that. You need to know that the current school funding has been declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of Ohio back in the 90s, and the state was directed to find another method. Yet we still use this method. The fellow right there and the young lady from Marathon Eatington, I applaud what you're saying. The system is broken. We know that. At this point, we have two methods to fix this problem. We need to bring in more money, or we need to cut costs. Look at your Brown County Press this weekend. I myself have tried to answer some of the questions. I feel this district is run in the absolute most fiscally responsible manner possible. Thank you.
Last person on the list is Kelly Green.
Good evening. Kelly Green, address 17956, Goshen Road, Williamsburg, Ohio. I just wanted to put out here, you're right. You're right. We have a D school. You're exactly right. The only thing D about our school is dedication. This will be the only school that I've been part of 3 different schools, by the way, that you will come by on a weekend and you will see them with their lights on at 8 o'clock in the evening. This is the only school that teachers do make cuts. They cut time away from their family. They take time and take cuts away from their paycheck. This is the only school that I've ever been a part of where someone asks me, what do you need for your child? What do you need? What's your child need for their education? They will take money out of their own pockets to provide that. Like I said, I've been part of 3 different school districts. And if you look at the real test scores, out of all 5 districts in Brown County, Fayetteville is the only one rated excellent. Now, I chose Fayetteville. I'm in Western Brown School District. We want to be in Fayetteville so bad, that we've been bugging our realtor for 4 years. Find me something in Fayetteville. So guess what happened for us? We bought property. We were so excited to finally be in Fayetteville School District that we wanted to come here. We wanted to come here for the school, for the teachers. I've been in so many other places, and you're not going to get any better dedication than our teachers. You're not. And like I said before, I understand both sides. I really, truly do. But when you're here on a personal basis and you see what's going on, I guarantee you're not going to get any better. And in the future, when I retire or something happens and I have to go bankrupt on my house, I'm not going to blame the community or anyone else. I'm going to blame myself. I'm not going to say it's because of farmers or community or anyone else. I'm going to blame myself. But I just want to put it out there. We're not a D school. The only D thing about our school is the dedication of our teachers. I will clearly, gladly, after this, show our ratings. We were the only school that was had an excellent rating. The only school out of all Brown County. That's why I chose to come here. It's because of the dedication that our teachers have. Thank you.
Basically, a follow-up question by both, Ms. Evans, and I think Brian Cronin touched on it too, about projection out to 2020.
Yeah.
Could you touch on that, and then we'll have our last two speakers, and
I think it was for Mr. Stanley, correct?
we're just gonna have to answer your question. You've already had 5 minutes. And I just asked it. I just asked it. He's gonna address it. It was the forecast out to 2020, where it starts to decline, deficit spending.
With the budget.
Well, I'll have him do that while the next person's speaking, give him a chance to look it up. The next person is Miss April Strong.
Hello, my name is April Strong. I live at 3797 Morgan Road, Lancaster, Ohio, 45107. The reason I'm standing up here today is because I have children in the school district, and I think their education is imperative. However, I think the way that this, budget has been proposed, for the levy is what has got this community divided. It has nothing to do, I could ask any of these farmers in here and they would support my children. I could ask anybody in here, hey, would you buy this for the PTO or, bake sale, whatever it may be. They're always supportive and this community has always been supportive. I've lived at my residence since 2006. However, I think that to throw a budget or to throw a levy together and have it proposed this way, is not fair to those who work hard. I think everybody works hard. However, I have student loans just like these. I'm a nurse. I am getting my master's degree, so I have student loans. You guys are just like me as you, work for the community and you pay for 10 years straight, you get to write it off as well. I think that you guys have a lot of the same things that you guys get benefits as well, though. But let me just finish, because,
Let her finish.
I have student loans just like everybody else. I work just like everybody else. I work weekends, holidays, on call, and it's what I choose to do. And you know what? Your healthcare benefits are way better than mine, and I work in the healthcare industry. I work in the healthcare industry, and I have people that come in on a fixed income, and it's very, very sad. They pick whether they want their insulin for the month or if they want food for the month. And I feel really bad that, you know what, that it's not it should be based on income. However, I know that I'll pay more based on income. And that's okay with me, but it's gotta be fair across the board. Because if renters, or if you don't, if you live out somewhere else, you know what, it's not fair. And it's gotta be something consistent, and I think that the 10-year levy is not set up, according to the 5-year budget plan. I don't see that the figures really come out right, because really the budget isn't hurt, they're not going to be in a deficit with what we have going on right now. And so I think that I would vote no at this point, and I came here tonight riding the fence, wanting my answers. What's gonna happen if it fails? What are we gonna do if this fails? What is our goal? What is the projected budget of what we're gonna do to tighten the reins to make it work for our kids? So I have not seen any or heard any answers of what will happen if it fails. What will we do?
Are you wanting that answered?
Yeah.
Can I, do I need to,
Get her mic.
that's not, to answer your question, if the levy fails, we have come to the community first. We did cuts in 2010. If any of you remember that, that was very hard at the time. It saved over $700,000. Many of those people that we rifted, as the legal term would be, we did not rehire. Actually, none of those people did we actually rehire. They might have came back from a state grant for the aides. And then we also did not fill certain spots. We had people retire. We did not fill those spots. We took that, if they retired, and we put that load of a person that was there every day and made the people who were there, we said, you need to figure it out. And they did. That is why, when you look back at, from, that we had a good projection, like in 2010, 11, that you see there was more money there because we did cut. And when we cut hard. And if you didn't see that, then maybe you weren't so much in the buildings to see how many more kids were per teacher. How many more, people were just giving extra time. They didn't have to, but they know that it needed to be done for our district. The reason, the 10-year projection, I get it, it is long. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Joanna, then they are looking at your 5-year forecast. That 5-year forecast does not have the levy in it. When he is doing the 5-year forecast up here, it has the levy in it. That's why you see that the numbers are going up. So there's a big difference. And when people are talking about this 5-year forecast, where there's a big number difference between what Joanna had and what the company projected for us, because they are showing us where we would be at with the levy.
Yeah, but they showed a deficit in 2020, that's what I wanted to know. Why was there a deficit in 2020?
The deficit spending, which is different. From the reserve that you had, you're not digging into that. So even with this $790,000 that we are asking for with this millage, there are other things that, and I don't want to take up your time, but I'd like to let people know something. This is not all about teachers. This money, and I know that this is a big misconception because many people have asked me, there are other things in this district, and I have a list. One thing that we do not have here at Fayetteville, and you can see that from the projections, is that we do not have a large revenue. We should have in our bank account 3 months worth of money. We do not. That amount of money is what, Joanna? $1,900,000. We are nowhere close to that. If something were to happen, we do not have that reserve. Now granted, that reserve is not going to be met in 1 year. We built up, that is a goal. We as a board have talked about this. Other things, and again, these things cannot be fixed with 1 year of money. We have an elementary roof that is in great need of repair. Our maintenance guys can probably tell you, they've been up there trying to repair it. And they do. We have a roof over our, what is now our middle school gym that is going to need repaired. We have to have that money somewhere to fix it. We don't right now. We have an older boiler. Everyone here should know we use coal to help save money. Those components are very, very expensive. They have looked in to see what they're costing. Right now, they're fixing them. Am I correct? And another one would be our transportation. We are in need of buses. The state, when they came back, took money back away for buses. Now granted, like a lot of other things the state does, they take away and they put it in another area. But when it comes to our busing, we have been cut pretty hard. That is why we bought some new buses. Granted, we were very fortunate. We got them, if you want to give me that exact dollar amount, Mr. Brady does have that. A brand new bus costs approximately $90,000. We used to rotate our buses with the government monies. We used to have a bus rotation. We don't have that rotation right now. Luckily today, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brady, we had a bus get a flat. Luckily, we had an extra bus to go out and substitute. They'll get those kids home and people to fix the bus we currently have.
Could I add something about, we did have the first meeting where we did fully discuss the income tax. And, thinking about that, this levy wouldn't have, if we did an income tax levy, it wouldn't have affected us because we're both retired, not fixed income also. But I would have felt a little bit guilty if we weren't done our share in support of the students, because I went to school here at St. Martin. I graduated from Fayetteville. I taught here. I went to Western Brown, and I taught there because, unlike Miss Crawford, I didn't want to teach my own children. So I spent 29 years at Western Brown, but then came back to Fayetteville. And we have a wonderful district here. But I would have felt guilty if we couldn't have done our share on this too. It is going to hit us hard. My husband and I both, you know, because we're on a fixed income and we're old. But, you know, you just have to try to budget. I know that's difficult. I realize that.
So at 10 years, this levy is 10 years long. Now what if next year the state gives you funding like you need instead of $1 excess of the $5,900 you get per student? Then what happens that we're still paying for 9 more years?
And then,
Okay.
and after 10 years, a renewal will come along and it's, we'll never get it.
Well, to answer to your question,
We don't reflect that.
first of all, the biennium budget, so what's happening next year, won't happen, but the year after that, it would be great if that would happen, that we would get some extra money from the state. We have looked into what if that happens, and I will let you know, as a board, whoever is here, which hopefully we're all still here, we have a very good board. You can go back and you can lower that amount. Now, if something happens, you say, hey, look, we look at our treasurer, we look for our 5-year forecast, and you see something like that coming. Now, granted, everyone, you would have to be pretty darn sure you're gonna have the money, because would you be upset if we said, hey, guess what, the year after, we got a problem. So we will definitely, this board, this school will look at that every year. If it were ever lowered, and then you look at the next year or 2 years out, and you see that money is, that you need that money back, you could bring that millage back up. We have been looking at this for a long time. I can speak for myself. This has been something that the school has been looking at for years, watching our budget and watching what we are getting from the state, what we're bringing in, and what we're putting out. I want to tell you a couple more things, just so you understand again, because all I keep hearing is about our staff needing or getting monies, other things that are needed. Textbooks. How many of you have seen your children come home with textbooks that are very old? We used to buy textbooks kind of regularly to keep up. We are asking teachers now to be innovative by using their computers our money going to go for locker rooms? Not that we protected. That's never been discussed. I'll tell you one thing, I am never going to say never. Because that will come back and bite me in the butt, right, Monica? Be the first one to tell me, I know. But we haven't, none of this monies, none of the monies that we're asking, have we said, we want to go out and do this or that? You know what, it'd be great to have some things finished. I would never say never.
Never even discussed that.
That has not been discussed. What has been discussed?
I personally would not go for that. No way.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
One moment, please.
One more, the young lady.
Gentleman back here.
No. I understand. I just, what I was wanting to say was, that was discussed, but what we found out was, that most everybody that we talked to that was here at that meeting was not for that.
There was one other question, Andy, that you had asked, and it's a good question, and I wanted to know the answer too. The question was, why didn't we list what we might cut if we had to? There are two reasons why we didn't do that. One, we ran the risk, if we did that, we ran the risk of students saying, well, you might cut basketball, I'm going to a different school, so we may have lost students that way. The other issue was we didn't want it to be perceived as a threat. We talked about listing where we would cut if we had to. We kind of agreed that it would be perceived as a threat. And that's why we didn't want to go that direction.
Kind of like having it back first.
She have a name on it.
This guy standing by. He's been up, he's not been up for.
We have not gotten to that point, with discussion.
That's what I was told by you the last time I
No. It's an option, but we haven't discussed it as a board. And just to reiterate what Mr. Holden said, no one wanted to put a fear factor that, okay, this doesn't pass, we're gonna cut this program, and sports. Because when that gets out there and it doesn't pass, where's your credibility? We're not in a position right now where if it doesn't pass this go round, but if it didn't pass, we would have those lists, and then that's when the exodus of, if I'm an open enrolled student and I'm seeing that they're going away with this and this, and whoops, we better get to another school. So that's the game. This community, the hope was, in most levies, 40% are against, 40% are for, and there's 20% that look at either way. It's to share the facts, let you form your opinion, and vote. Some of the other things that were listed, the chiller and the HVAC in the elementary are 1997. One of the domestic water pumps is currently not running, it's calcified. There's, even the new buildings, the warranties on those equipment don't carry out. So there's some big catastrophic events that could go wrong with no carryover, could kind of embarrass the district. That's why most districts have a 3-month reserve to operate on. The buses, the question about the buses, there was a new bus purchased in 2014 and that one has 20,000 miles on it. But there are 8 buses with over 100,000 miles. The bus fleet is something that could be replaced. You know, I don't know how often other people replace their vehicles, but when you're transporting students, you want to have some type of rotation set up, and that's one of the others. So, and even our tractor, the tractor has 7,000 hours on it, lights in the parking lot that last 25 years. When you replace them, there's a little upfront cost, but there's a savings, just like the misunderstanding about the solar field. You know, that solar field, we had 1 year to check the previous electric bill to this year's, and it was a $70,000 savings in the energy cost. But I want to get back to Stacy, allow me to answer that question, and we'll get to you. The question on carrying out to 2020.
he left?
He's not here. Last person, Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson, 534 Munster Drive, Fayetteville, Ohio. I live out Lake Lorelei. I'm sure a lot of you know me. I retired from Fayetteville schools. I can see both sides of what's going on right here, and we're dividing the community. Farmers say that they don't live in Perry Township, but they pay taxes. Well, Lake Lorelei has about 650 homes, and 40% of those people don't live in those homes. They're part-timers. I have a whole bunch of them. They choose that. That's right. But they pay taxes, and they don't get a vote on it. Same with the farmers. I understand that. Looking at the money that you got to have extra, we've got boilers that are out there that are over 25 years old. We've got a building that was 96 that we built. I got history. I know the history of Fayetteville. But the bottom line is you need three things in the community. You need a police department. Does anybody remember what happened about 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago? Middletown, Madison? Our cops up here all the time. I seen him, you know, he could be a pain in the ass because it's a speed trap, but you gotta have him. You gotta have a fire department, a life squad. What's gonna happen when you're in trouble? You gotta have that. And you gotta have a school to educate the kids so they don't live, so they don't live in poverty and welfare. We're being held responsible because we all go to work. We work hard. We don't have low-income housing. But what we need to do, Ralph, you said this guy works. You, me, and that guy, and everybody else need to form a committee and go to Columbus. Listen, we need to go to Columbus. How many people has looked at their state rep and asked him why in the hell is my kid only worth $1.56 and a kid 10 miles down the road is worth $900? Answer that question, Mr. Green. We need to ask our state reps. We don't need to fight. We need to work together. We're dividing our community. Let's not do that. Let's get together. Thank you. I'm already going to.
It was your job as what you were.
You haven't seen, I'll answer your question. The question was, did I say that's my job? I've already said I'm scheduled it for March 16th to go up. And you get this.
Why did you do it prior?
I talked to them.
Yes,
I talked to my state rep. I talked to the Ohio District 10 person. This is the wrong decision. I did. Please don't discredit my integrity, okay? That's all I'm gonna tell you. Right? That's all I'm gonna say. Don't discredit my integrity.
yes.
I can tell you one thing. Please let me talk. I have contacted the district rep of Ohio State School Board. His name is Ron Ruddick. I contacted Aaron Roush, who is the state funding person, and expressed the frustration. They chose the, I can't answer the question while he's in this room. And I have already, out of my own pocket, paid $130 to attend a session next month, or the 16th, the day after the election, to express my frustrations in this entire process to the state representatives, who I received a phone call from a 75-year-old resident of this scheduled it. I probably even have the receipt here to show you, okay? Will they listen? I don't know. But Mr. Barber and I had that conversation. And we'll go up. And the way he does his research, I mean, what better ally to have to go up and say, we are tired of it. We want our community back. Bottom line. It's been a long night. We appreciate, you obviously have a vested interest in what happens here. That says a lot, and a lot of you, look how many of you have stayed, and it's now almost 9:45. All of you started your day bright and early.
Tina had a question.
Mr. Brady.
He told Tina to get.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Halk, I did see your hand up, and then I'll, so, and I can certainly show you that document if you have any doubt.
He did. Actually,
I had said it earlier, maybe you didn't hear.
I don't think that there's anybody in here that is not supportive of the school. And I don't think that there's anybody that is not supportive of the teachers. And some of them have been here for a lot of years since I was in school.
Right.
And, I don't think anybody disputes the job that they do, or that they're deserving of what they get paid, or anything like that. I think that it's really the way that somebody said the levy was presented, and the amount of dollars it is, and the time that is being drug out, that is the main problem for people. I think that situation could have been handled way differently, and you all talk about the multiple meetings you had. I'm on the one call list, and this is actually the first meeting that I've got any information at all about, or I would have been at them. And, my husband and I support the school in every way that we possibly can. We support the sports and everything else. So it's not that we are opposed to the school at all. We're supporting the school. But the levy, we feel, is in excess. And we just can't make sense of why it is so much. And some people think that it's not that much, or they say, oh, it's only $200 a year. Well, to some people, it is only $200 a year. But, like other people are saying, if you are successful, or you have more, you're gonna pay way more than $200 a year. And if your taxes are already $4,000 or something, and you're adding on this additional tax, this 7.9 mil or whatever it is, that's significant. That is very significant. So to us, it's more that you're being penalized because you are maybe a little more successful, or you have a little more. It's not being divided out to where it's, more fairly spread out amongst people. And it seems like the levy was put together very quickly. And
I know it's quiet.
he got this.
it was done very quickly. And there wasn't enough thought out to the community sooner to prepare us for it.
We need to address what
And
you
one
just
thing
said.
that you get ahead of time, I think for people to wrap their head around it, and then we don't see where you spend the money, and we don't see where the money is going, and we can look at those graphs all day long, and we don't need them to stand up there and read those graphs, because every one of us in here know how to read. We can read the graphs, it still does not tell us where you're spending the money, or where the money is gonna go. So, it's
Alright, Tina, I'm Brian Kleemeyer, most of you know me, I think. I'm the guy that's been biting my tongue all night, cause I've been warned. I got a hot head, so, to answer, or not to answer your question, to add to what you're saying. We have a board meeting every third Thursday. It's open to the community. I've been on the board the least amount of time. I initially ran for the board because I got interested when they were ripping and cutting teachers and they didn't have money back then. And my thought was, man, I'm gonna get in there and fix that, you know? Look at the expenditures. I was very surprised. When I got on the board, I knew nothing. I was very surprised at how tightly budgeted they were. And it is going well, and obviously, we're working with what we have. That's not what I wanna talk about. I just want everyone to know, I personally made phone calls and asked folks to come to meetings, no one shows up. Every third Thursday, the doors are open, Joanne brings in the expenditures for the month, the board goes over the expenditures and approves them. It's all there. By all means, come, please, every third Thursday, make the time to come. 6 o'clock in the evening, every third Thursday. Tina, I'd like to see you there every third Thursday. And Ralphie, you too.
You allowed to speak when you guys are talking about stuff? You allowed to stand up?
There is an open session just like this. We do go into executive session to discuss employee issues or any one particular, children, the students. Executive session is the board only, yes.
No.
And that,
No,
No.
the Ohio law dictates when we must go into executive session. We're not doing anything to keep it from you guys. Are you kidding? We have to answer to you right now. This is not what I wanted to do tonight, But can you imagine if we had to address this and we tried to pull all this off together without anyone knowing?
well, that's what got my interest.
We're not allowed to go in executive session except for certain reasons. That's it.
And just like tonight, when Craig said we could not talk about individuals, we're not allowed to do that as a board without going into executive session. That's why we didn't discuss this individual's salary or this individual's salary, what have you, and name them. Ralphie, I've known you a long time, brother. I mean, I'd love to see you. Okay.
Hey, my question, you talked about how tight this thing is being run, and then when they do the new projections, this thing flows right out of the water.
Between the board's projection for 5 years and you guys' hired consultant projection for 5 years, it's awfully inflated.
On those two projections that you're looking at, are you looking at the one which had the green line that showed that, no, okay, her projection does not have anything to do with the levy. Her projection and the projection that yes, with no levy.
No levy.
With
No
the
levy.
levy money.
No, his said no levy right on it. Your hired employees. Didn't it say no levy?
So you're saying, what you're saying then, Mr. Barber, and I would have to actually look at that and see your numbers that you're saying that are different from her projection. Ms. Carter, do you have an answer for that? Because I don't know that your 5-year forecast is different than their 5-year forecast.
Way different.
One was with the levy, and one
Ms.
was
Carter,
We compared the same.
I will turn it to her.
A forecast twice a year. I always have to do one. I always have to do one in October. When that year starts, I have no idea for the budgeting and what it's going to be. You look at my forecast, and go back probably and look at all of them. The first one in October is very, I would say generic, but I really watch the cost. I'm more flatlined because I don't know what we're gonna get. And I am very conservative. I don't put the money down unless I know it's gonna be there. With Stacy's program, and I've worked with that program since then, since they have come, and there very, very complex. It is a great tool. It is a wonderful tool. And when he was able to go and put all that in, it did bring it up, because there was probably things in there that I would not have included, just because I don't have the software. I do now, I will be using that, and I will be able to project. It will be more, if I didn't include every single thing, but when you look at if you really had went through the spreadsheets, and there's, I don't even know how many spreadsheets, there's tons of them. But it really brings everything into much more detail, which is much better, it has more information than mine will have. If you check mine in the end of May, we have to do it in May, I'm usually pretty well right on. But even if then, you go, look, the years that go out, it's a guesstimate. His has more guts to it, that will actually be able to say, okay, this is where we're gonna go with this. Mine is very, very generic on the years out, because I don't have that information.
Okay, well, I'm gonna use one. On the personal services, what does that cover? That's raises, salaries,
Personal services would be your,
raises, salaries.
Let-
Salaries.
salaries is,
Okay, when I did this projection, if they projected you guys in 4 years, they got $847,000 projected in raises for personal, and Mrs. Taylor for our school, her projection was 130. So when you add them together, you got $977,000 in that one category. Out to 2020.
He's talking about the 2% they added in for income. That's what he's talking about, the 2%. It-
okay, but let's say, remember, this is a forecast. This is a guesstimate. This has more backing behind it. Mine is a guesstimate. You look at mine in May, when I do mine in May, I will have, that year will be just about perfect, because I know the information that's been through there.
Well, I wanna come back in May and do one, and I wanna
Okay.
see how yours compares to what you did now.
Okay.
Do you want to tell
Because I
him?
don't understand, you've been here 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, you did a great job running this school, as far as we know. So, I feel like you're pretty close and pretty well on. You're not shooting $219,000 off. That's my question.
So what you're saying, Ralph, is that joint care is doing a great job, and you're questioning maybe the new
I'm
numbers?
questioning where all
The
the
new numbers, okay. That's- Thank you, Joanne.
Very good. I wish you teachers, you people would all come in and talk to everybody. But I probably would have to say I'm the only one teacher or anybody in Fayetteville that's been in there in the last month.
Thank you, Ralph.
I'm talking about business.
Thank you, Ralph.
One more.
Yeah.
Greg answered it. She probably didn't understand.
Okay. And the second question?
All those expenditures, every month, every expenditures that we've had is approved. So they are made available. If you want us to,
decades before, that will be too. But as far as putting it on the website, who are we gonna have to do that?
Who's gonna spend a week punching all that in?
No, I'm asking.
Projected spending, I think is what she's looking for.
Should we hire someone to put that on the website?
I believe you can get on the job manual. Some of these schools are doing that. You guys have checks on that?
Is that,
Oh, he has a thing for school
Old
funding.
Ohio Accountable or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shows where all the money is being.
Yeah, and definitely, so do our bills that we review every month, so they will be.
Come to a meeting, third Thursday of the month, you can see the expenditures for the month.
I know.
We will put any answer that you did not get tonight will be posted by Monday noon, I think was Mr. Brady's promise. That whatever he couldn't come up with an answer to tonight will be posted on the website, which he's been writing down the questions that haven't been answered. We have a meeting, our next, meeting, actually, we also, on top of having regular monthly meetings, we have quarterly financial meetings. This month's happens to be 2 days after the issue is on the ballot. So we will have a financial committee meeting at 5:30, followed by a regular board meeting at 6 o'clock. That's Thursday the 17th. I would say that the success or failure of the issue on Tuesday will more than likely be the topic of the day on Thursday. So anybody that wants any input on what gets cut real deep, or how we spend the money, you're more than welcome to come to the meeting. I thank everybody for coming out, voicing your opinion,
Answer her question.
asking your questions.
I wanna answer her question.
Okay, I will not adjourn until everybody's been satisfied by asking their questions. I just wanted, so if anybody wants to go home, it's 10 o'clock and you wanna go home, I wanna thank everybody that came out and added to the meeting. Mr. Holton wants to answer a question.
No.
Under 790,000 forecasted, I will not be able to have that on by noon on. But that's 5 years, 10 years down the road, I don't want to mislead on that.
We'll have to bring over here. There's only about 6 chairs over there. Nobody ever comes.
Well, she shared buses, roofs, things of that nature. We want to keep the staff competitive, there'll be salary increase, all those things will be factored in.
I'd like to make one other thing, very evident. The biennium budget comes out in July, right? July 1st. Right, I mean last year's. So when we get the information that says, hey, guess what, Fayetteville, this is what you're getting, okay? We get the information, we have our board meeting, we review it. We also look at our 5-year forecast, and we say, okay, well, this is what we thought we were getting, and this is what we're getting. So if you look back at the board minutes, we looked at that in July. On August 3rd was the first time, or not the first time, but one of the instances that he had contacted someone at the state to say, why did we get this amount of money? Because that was our first question as a board. Why did we only get this amount of money? Because we have been told before by people from the state, everybody's gonna get this, the new biennium budget, and as everyone hoped, we're like, we're gonna get some money. We should get some extra money to help out our district, and we did not. So if you progress and you go, that was July, then August, make the phone calls, we have our next meeting in August. We look back at it going, okay, this is what we got. There were deadlines that had to be met. By the time we got our full figures and knew everything that was coming out, and I have the book with me if you would like to see it. It tells you when you have to have things on the ballot. There were a couple different meetings that we had beforehand, because we knew if we were looking at the different options for a levy, which would have been the increase for the income, we had to have those to the state. We have to have everything in order to put it on a ballot. So I have those dates on here because that was one of the pieces that we said, oh, let's get this on. If we don't want to do the income tax one, then that's fine, but we had to have our paperwork done. And if we decided to, then we had the informational meeting. This was in November, the November 12th, somewhere right in there. So we had the informational meeting of which we did the best we could. By the time we found out that we had these deadlines to meet in order to try and get it on the ballot, which anyone, in my opinion, when we looked at this, we're saying, we want to get it on the ballot in March. We want to get it out to the people. If it doesn't pass, we want to have time before we have to go in and be like, we have absolutely no money, we are so far in debt, we need to go to the public, right? That's what you guys would expect. You don't want us to come to you and only have one chance to go. One chance to say, guess what? We were too late. We're not late. We're being proactive. So therefore, when we had the meeting here that night, of which there were numerous amount of people here, we had pretty much the same slide projections. They were telling us our different options. That was when we had to decide. We didn't have a lot of time, if we wanted to get it on this ballot, to say which levy. We knew the amount of money that was needed for the projections. And honestly, you would not want us to spend every single penny of a $790,000 budget in 1 year. That's not the goal. The goal is to get us out of deficit spending. So we're gonna have to build up money to have for that 3 months, in case something happens. And we have expenses that we know that are down the line that we put off, as I had mentioned earlier. So it would, if we spent every cent of it, that would be very, irresponsible. Am I right? Because you wouldn't want us to come out at the end of 10 years and be going, we spent everything. That's not how it's worked, and that's not what our board has been doing. We tried. We try to get the information out the best we can. We try the one call. Some people, including myself, you get that one call, what do? You just let it go to the machine. But we had people here that night, and we listened to the people that were here. We polled some of our staff, and we talked to most people in our family or friends within our own outreach and said, hey, what do you think? The one thing that actually stuck in my mind when we looked at doing a tax levy for the property tax or an income. An income tax that we had looked at, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we looked at what a 1% income tax would bring in. That 1% income tax, that would fluctuate. We wouldn't have, and we could get an estimate of what it would be, but it would all depend on what everybody's income ended up being that year, or what was submitted to the tax department.
But shouldn't it? I mean, you can't get more blood from a hog than the hog. It should go by what people's income is.
Well, then that's what we needed to hear that night. That's what we needed to hear. Hey,
I didn't get that one call, but I get the one every morning at 5:30 since we're on a 2-hour delay because it's night now. I get that one.
If you have a better suggestion of how we can get it out to the people, I'd love to hear it.
And lastly, I see your hand. What's your question? There are many different, those are the couple different ways we looked at things. Wait. There should be no argumentation between people here, because we are here for the right reasons, right? For our school.
If we can move on, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Are all questions answered?
I'll be happy to stay if anybody wants to ask a question after the meeting.
Which one? Why do we not go with 5 years? We looked at a 5-year projection, and it was to come back to the voters. You're looking at 5 years, so if you go 5 years, and because that was one of the options. The people here that night, we had a big discussion on that also. and to come back, and each person on this board can ask, you can ask them. My opinion was, you have a 5-year one, okay, you get it for 5 years, you start collecting in 2017. Within 2 years, because we knew, I mean, we're pretty good with our numbers, we're gonna be back, so we're back to the voters. How often do you like to go back to the voters for a levy? It is hard. Look at this one levy, how hard. I never would have guessed this would have been this divided. So that was one of my things. You know, we can go it out for a long time. Hey, look what could happen. We could get a better biennium budget. And we have another treasurer from another school in here, and she knows what those budgets are. It's not always cut and dry, and it's not what is perceived, because they can change it. When you think you're getting something, you get it back, and you're not. So that was one of the reasons I looked at longevity, trying to sustain the school for as long as possible. You want to answer?
My question is, what's gonna happen to the teachers and to the bus drivers and everything else if this doesn't pay us? Because we've got good teachers at this school, we've got good bus drivers at this school, if this doesn't pay us, it's gonna come down. People are gonna lose their jobs and everything else. So what's gonna happen if this doesn't pay us as far as the teachers and for the people who take care of our kids driving on the snow roads and whatever else? What's gonna happen there? Because if it's, you know, money's gotta go somewhere and it's gotta.
You're right. That, we came to the public first, is what we did. Again, you don't want to fight a scare tactic, you can't pinpoint things,
We haven't
but if it doesn't pass, that will be one of the first things we discuss.
On Tuesday, right? Or right after it, we're all gonna, if it doesn't pass or pass on that Tuesday.
Thursday.
We'll all discuss.
Thursday, next Thursday.
I think Tuesday, whatever the vote is, we'll all discuss it, whether it passes or fails.
Right.
We'll be together as a community.
Our next
Yes.
board meeting, if it doesn't pass, we will have that discussion.
And we can have it in here. If people want to come, we don't have to have it in the board office. We just do that because
Nobody shows up.
usually all we have are our principals, the news reporter, Mr. Milligan comes, and that's it. Yes.
Every taxpayer going, that it's been a lot more cumbersome with everybody as a taxpaying citizen, board members, everybody. If you guys would come back to the call with a lower number, put it on right now, because we're getting ready to get faced with a, Brown County jail tax. Do that now, and then 3, 4 years down the road, come at us again. We don't think we did it again.
If it comes to that, I will come to you. We just passed one. Yes, your point, Mr. Aubrey, your point right there was exactly one of the reasons that I thought of. The fire department does have the renewal. They have it and they have renewal. And you're like, you go back and you, I want a fire department, you know, whatever it usually costs. I'm like, it's good because I know we need that for our community. Same thing with our school. But if we come back to you year after year and say, hey, we need more money for this, I guarantee there will be many people going, why didn't you project it out longer? Why are you coming back now? Why didn't you look at what's happening in the future?
Sir, I totally appreciate your opinion, but we had to have that opinion in November, and we didn't get it from anybody.
But, yeah,
We had a deadline that we had to meet, and we met it. If you want things on the Board of Elections, you have to hit deadlines. We had a deadline in November, and we asked what people were comfortable with. Nobody was comfortable with an income tax. It missed a lot of people, and the people that could afford to pay accountants didn't make no money.
yeah, but, and, yeah, I
to, and I.
We can't do a smaller amount right now. Like I said, the deadline was last November in order to get something on the ballot for next Tuesday. We had a meeting and that opinion wasn't expressed. I wish this many people were there. It would have been a much.
Yeah, but I also respectfully disagree, because if you want us to run the school on a 2-year time frame, that's not how I would run a business. Or even a 1 year. But yeah, what you say is true. I do go, when I business plan, I do go more than 2 years.
So I'm gonna ask again for a motion to adjourn, please.
Are there any other
Yes,
questions?
Mrs. Muller is trying to say something. Mrs. Muller.
I would like to see that there's no more of these barroom meetings where people just do not feel comfortable as leaders.
Thank you, Mrs.
I
Muller.
don't think there's any.
Hold on, you don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Barber, please, Mr. Barber, please. I'm once again, I'm gonna ask the rest of the board for a motion to adjourn. We can continue this discussion, but I want the people that want the opportunity to go home to go home.
Mr. Brady, and I believe the, computer guy set that meeting up. Nobody else set that meeting up, Ellen. You as well.
Sir, it was in the paper and everything else.
The intent of that meeting was to go to local businesses and make ourselves present, and there was a big turnout at the first one. There were probably about 35 people, and a lot of questions were asked. We also went to Subway as a next step, and the turnout wasn't anywhere near as big as that night. And there was a lot of dialogue in that evening. And then the third one was gonna be Skyline. Mr. Barlow and I went and sat there at lunchtime today, and that was the third. So Skyline wasn't announced, the other two were. We said, yes, we put a flyer out for that location. It was to sit down, the intent was the treasurer and I would be present, people come up and ask questions. Right, no, that was the original intent. When we showed up, when we saw the volume of people that were there, and the people that were there were expecting answers to questions in an open forum. So we adjusted what we had planned, because we were just gonna sit down, not expecting that many people there, and answer every question that we had. So when it evolved to what it did, it was similar to this, where I think there were 2 questions we weren't able to answer that night, but it was done at that location. And then the following week, we were in Subway, and we stayed there for, Ms. Carrier was there for an hour, and I was there for 2 hours. So we wanted to get it, because there's not that many meeting places where people meet in the community that you can get your message out. And our doors are open, and we will share, and we will let you know what you need to hear if you come and ask. And the biggest other point that I think the whole board members have stressed, all the board members have stressed, is the third Thursday of every month, with the exception of 2 months, it's the third Thursday of the month. June and
that's just basic math, that, it's gonna be affected, there's nothing you can do about it.
This is not a board meeting.
I teach kindergarten, I do not stand in front of a class, I stand beside individual kids. Yes. It is not me in front of a classroom. So you're teaching an individual child? I have to, I test every single kid individually in kindergarten, every single one of them, every single kid. Well, I have a sophomore, so I would like to hope that if she's got this far in school, that you don't have to stand by her desk anymore to individually teach her.
Every student has special needs, and need council needs accommodations, everybody learns differently, everybody needs different things. Not every student.
Yeah. Stop it, right here. Wait, just a moment. For any, wait, this is, we need to stop, because what has just happened is you are asking the staff questions that they are not even relevant. Why would no one here why would anyone ever think that our staff, whether it be our teachers, our bus drivers, our custodians, our aides, are gonna treat our children here at this school any different if a levy doesn't pass? We are all very proud. They have not had raises in a long time. I have not seen a decline in anything happening here. We don't, this is a state. And where that comes into is exactly as the one lady pointed out, what is the first thing she brought up about a report card? She, honestly, unless you have children in the school, which you do, Tina, and you know how, and you see the progress of your child, and you know they're getting a good education, to look from the outside in and only look at a paper, you know that doesn't give adequate attestament to what is being done in this school. You know the teachers, you know how, as Mr. Alice pointed out, every child learns differently.
It will be affected.
We've made no plans for either.
School books. You won't have bus transportation. You won't have some of the stuff that these teachers need.
We need to put speculate.
Are they gonna realize the teachers?
But, wait a minute, I think, you're asking about that, right? You're not asking personally, because that would be very, very rude. No, we would not, as a whole, no.
Are you kidding?
Stop.
Excuse me, this is degenerated from what this is, and this is a board meeting. There is a matter of decorum that we need to maintain, and we're asking people to speculate what they might do based on results that aren't in yet. We'll have results Tuesday night, we'll have a board meeting and a financial meeting both on Thursday, and we'll discuss what the result of the Tuesday issue was.
But it is not going to
Until that
affect the
happens,
education of our
we can't
children.
speculate, and to ask someone else to speculate how they may behave after next Tuesday, this Thursday is not, you're not gonna get a very good answer.
That's stupid, but I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Mr. Kleemeyer moves to adjourn. Mrs.
Any
Johnson,
other questions?
second.
Almost another?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No?
Are there any other questions about the levy?
We already got three.
No, I'm good. Are you asking me? Yes.
What time do we have? We got three yes. 10:21.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. I was listening.
But it's not, it can't degenerate into